Hey everyone, welcome back. It's your boy Jaminator. Today I'm going to be showing off a Raging Bolt deck list. This is a pretty standard Raging Bolt deck list, nothing too special about it, but it's important to me and it's very consistent and wins a lot of games. So it's important to me because I took it to Melbourne Regionals and got top 64 with it, and then in the same week I also won 2 League Cups with it and top 4'd another League Cup with the same deck list. And I didn't change a single card in it. So I believe this is the most consistent way to play Raging Bolt. It doesn't have any weird tech cards for control matches. It doesn't have like Petron EX. It doesn't have stuff that can auto win you the wall matchups. But when it comes to giving you the best opportunity to play Raging Bolt into a wide variety of decks, which is basically the meta. The consistency of this is out of this world, and I love playing this deck. So let's go through the Pokemon of this Raging Bolt deck list. We're running 3 Raging Bolt EX, and most of the time we're using this second attack to one-shot anything in the game, and using its big health and no weakness to soak up hits from opponents. So Bellowing Thunder does 70 damage for each basic energy you discard from any of your Pokemon. And we're using stuff like Sada, Crispin, and the Teal Mask Ogerpon ability to put extra energies in play all at once in the same turn that you're pulling off the Raging Bolt attack. We have 2 more ancient Pokemon as well. These are the only other 2 ancient Pokemon in the deck. If you like, you can also include the Koraidon from Surging Sparks. It is a pretty good attack, but the issue is it does have a requirement that you attack with an ancient Pokemon on the previous turn, whereas these you can just put into play straight away and then use your Sada or Crispin in attack. So the first one is the single prize Raging Bolt, which despite looking like it doesn't do a lot of damage, this one only does 30 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon for each energy attached to this. So most of the time you're going to only be doing 60 or 90. But this card is actually so strong for those evolution decks, because instead of having to use your boss's orders or Prime Catcher very early in the game to kill their weak Pidgeys or Dreepies, Dracloaks, Charmanders, any evolving Pokemon, you can just use this Raging Bolt to snipe them on the bench. Use this attack and then kill the bench Pokemon. So that's what we use this Pokemon for, and most of the time we're getting this out turn 1 to set it up for when we're going to attack with it the next turn. The second ancient Pokemon in this list is the Slither Wing, which we use mainly for the Burning Turbulence attack. It does 120 damage, 90 to itself, but the main thing here is it burns your opponent's active Pokemon. So we're using this to kill Pikachu EX, and there's a couple other Pokemon, for example, Bloodmoon Ursaluna, which also get one-hit KO'd by this. And the good thing about that is it also kills Bloodmoon Ursaluna and Pikachu EX with the burn status condition, which means the opponent, if they're running Fezandipiti or Unfair Stamp, they cannot use it because the burn knocks out these Pokemon in between turns. So that's the main reason why we run this, but it's also nice to have single prize attackers that can one-hit KO 2 prize attackers. So you can use them when you're prize mapping to try and figure out to take a 2 prize Pokemon and promote a single prize so your opponent can't actually gain an advantage off you. Maybe you're playing from behind, or you can do like a cool Iono counter catcher or prime catcher play. Use one of these killer 2 prize Pokemon, ruin their hand, and even up the prize trade. Now we have 3 Teal Mask Ogerpons. We're mainly using this for the ability, not the attack. There's 2 great uses for the ability. So once during your turn, you can attach a grass energy from your hand to this Pokemon, and then if you do, you draw a card. The main reason we like to use this is so that we can get extra energy attachments to power up the Raging Bolt Bellowing Thunder attack. So with our Sada, we might be able to get 2 energies. We have a manual attachment every turn, and then depending how many Ogerpons you have, you could possibly get 6 energies attached to your Pokemon in one turn using this ability. But the second use of this ability is, so if you don't have like a Latias in play, you can always promote Ogerpon EX and then use its ability to put an energy on it, so you can retreat into anything at the start of your turn and still have your attachment for turn, so you can attack with whatever you want. So it's a good retreater and a good promoter, and a lot of the times if you start the game with this, it's also great because you can end your turn by retreating into something you actually want to put in the active spot. We also can use this attack. It is a grass type Pokemon, so this is also nice when versing a lot of decks that are weak to grass. The attack against a Charizard EX with no tool cards and 2 energies on it, 1-hit KOs it. So this is a Charizard killer, and you only need 3 energies, so you don't need to power up 6 or 7 or however many it was to use Raging Bolt's attack to kill Charizard EX. This is a very good card in its own right, but the ability just adds a little chef's kiss to the Raging Bolt deck, being able to draw cards and accelerate energies. Now I've got a couple of support Pokemon here before I go to the other EXs. The engine does not run not as much the old Raging Bolt with the Squawkabilly and all of that turbo style build. This build of Raging Bolt likes to go first and then use our Fan Rotom Fan Call ability to get all these Hoothoots and Noctowls in play. So we're using a Noctowl engine, and the Noctowl itself is pretty good. We never attack with it. We just use it for the ability. So when you have a Terra Pokemon in play, which will be Teal Musk Ogerpon, you're going to use this ability and search your deck for any 2 trainer cards you want. So that's why this card is so strong in this deck. Every turn we can just play 1 Noctowl and grab any 2 cards we want to play the turn out as best as we want to do it. So might grab like a Sada and a Prime Catcher, or an Area 0 and a Fezandipiti or something like that. So we're going to be using Fan Call on our first turn to get 3 colorless Pokemon with 100 HP or less. So you might want to get 2 Hoothoots and a Noctowl, and then you can put them in your hand and do whatever you like with it. Or you could also get this Ditto out, which is also a colorless Pokemon, which has the ability, if it's in the active spot, search your deck for any basic Pokemon and swap it with this Ditto. So we might use the Fan Rotom to get Ditto, a Hoothoot, and a Noctowl. Then we can retreat the Ditto in the active spot, and then we can search out for any basic Pokemon we want and put it in play. So now we have a Hoothoot and a Noctowl in our hand, ready to use for next turn because there is an Ogerpon in play that can activate it. So it's a really strong combo. The Ditto really helps the deck speed along a lot better too. And we are playing 2 Fan Rotoms, 1 Ditto, and then we're also playing 1 Hoothoot from Prismatic Evolutions with 80 HP, because those Dragapult decks are running Hawlucha to kill the 70 HP Hoothoot. So late game we can bench this and it's pretty safe against Dragapult decks. And then the other ones are the 70 HP one. It doesn't really matter to me which Hoothoot I use because they're both 70 HP, 1 energy, and I'd never use them to attack. And then we've got the 3 Noctowls with the Jewel Seeker ability. To finish up with Pokemon here, this is a pretty Pokemon intensive deck. There's probably more Pokemon than trainers, supporter cards, items, because the Pokemon all do stuff. So the first important EX that we're running is the Squawkabilly EX with the Squawk and Seize ability. if you're going first, you may use it, discard your hand and draw 6 cards. We're mainly just using it for the ability. We never really use the attack. But this gives you options when discarding your hand and drawing 6 cards on the first turn can give you an advantage or get you out of a really disastrous hand. You might even be able to use the ability to draw into a Sada and be able to attack as early as your first turn going second with Squawkabilly. So it's a good inclusion just in case. The second most important card in this deck is our Fezandipiti. So for EXs, this is pretty standard. We use this to draw cards every time your opponent knocks out a Pokemon with Flip the Script. And then if you want, you can also use this attack. It pretty much does the same thing that the Raging Bolt single prize does. We use that one more often because we can Sada to it, but you can use this to bench snipe in like control matches and stuff like that. The next important Pokemon that's an EX is this Latias EX, which gives all our basic Pokemon in play retreat, which is great for this deck because everything's basic except the Noctowls. So we'll be using this to give all our basic Pokemon retreat. We do not have Psychic Energies, so this is the only EX in the deck that cannot attack. You're going to be really careful when you put this down in control matches because it can get stuck and it can't attack them. And then we've got the Mew EX, which we most of the time use it for the free retreat and the restart ability. We can always protect our hand if we're hand disrupted and we have Mew to draw until we have 3 cards in our hand, and then we can Fez to draw some more. It's a great card for that, but also genome hacking. We can Crispin and slowly attach to it and use the genome hacking to copy some Pokemon's attacks. Not often, but it's there. And then our last extra EX in the deck is the Bloodmoon Ursaluna, which is my favorite. It does 240 damage, and this ability reduces the attack cost by 1 colorless energy for each prize card your opponent has taken. So towards the end of the game, this can attack for free potentially, and it's got the most health out of all the EXs in the deck. So I often use this in combination with hand disruption to kill one of my opponent's Pokemon and hope they cannot return KO it because it has an enormous amount of health. And the other reason why I do that is because it may not even require an energy, so I don't have to Sada or Crispin to it. I can just attack for free and then use my supporter, which is hand disruption. They are our EX cards. Now moving on to our supporters. This is pretty simple stuff. We've got 4 Professor Sada's Vitality, which has the effect, choose 2 of your ancient Pokemon, attach a basic energy from your discard to each of them, and then if you've done that, you can draw 3 cards. So this is our bread and butter. We're using this most of the time to power up our attackers. But also, if we could run more copies, we would, but we can't. So we're running Crispin instead, which is the next best thing. It also accelerates energy, searches your deck for up to 2 basic energy cards of different types, reveal them and put 1 on your Pokemon. And if you do that, you can you put 1 in your hand, and if you do that, you can put the other one on your Pokemon. So if you can't get 2 different types, you can't get the acceleration, but if there are 2 different types, you can accelerate 1 and still have an attachment for turn. So it's almost like a Sada, just doesn't draw cards. Then we have a Boss's Orders, which is pretty standard. Switches in one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active spot. So you can use this when you're desperate to trap something, if you're behind, to get an extra turn to set up whatever you want. Or you can use this to take a very crucial knockout with one of your Pokemon that's ready to attack. Then we have Iono, which we use for hand disruption. Each player shuffles their hand, puts it at the bottom of their deck, and if anyone does this, each player draws a card for each prize card they have left. So if your opponent only has 1 or 2 prizes left, you can absolutely ruin their hand and make them draw until 2. So this is more powerful as the game goes on, and I use this in combination with Ursaluna EX quite a bit because it can attack for free. And also you can use this if you have other attackers with energies ready to play. Just be careful if they don't have energies to attack, that you might end up using Iono and then not being able to actually attack anything, because you cannot use Sada and Iono in the same turn. Then finally, for supporters, we have Professor Turo's Scenario. This is an uncommon to see in a Raging Bolt deck because it doesn't just pick up basic Pokemon, it picks up everything. And the reason I chose this over Penny is because we can pick up Noctowls, and that actually ends up making this a consistency card rather than a tech card, because we can pick up a Noctowl and then play it straight back down on a Hoothoot to get any two other trainer cards out of our deck and use it in that turn. So that is an awesome way of using Professor Turo's Scenario, but we can also pick up anything that's stuck in the active spot. For example, Ursaluna, it's got a lot of retreat, or something that's just been hit by sub or an attack that an opponent's Pokemon might use to trap something in the active spot. So that is what we use Turo for. Then we have a couple of item cards. There is 3 Ultra Balls, which can get any Pokemon you want from your deck, but we have to discard 2 cards from our hand. So we often use this to discard some energies so that we can use Sada and then search the deck for Noctowls or literally anything, Fezandipiti, anything we want. It's a great card. The Ultra Ball. Then we've got 4 Nest Balls. This is pretty standard in every deck. Search your deck for a basic Pokemon, put it on your bench, and everything here, except for Noctowls, doesn't have like a play from hand ability. So Nest Ball is perfect for all of our basic Pokemon. For example, like Ditto and Fan Rotom, once they're in play, you can just use their ability. It's not play from hand. Then we've got 1 Counter Catcher. We're not often using this every game, but it's nice when you're playing from behind and you can prize map from playing from behind to still gain a 2 prize advantage or a prize advantage on your opponent. We're using Counter Catcher as a Gust. We have a Boss as a Gust, and then we have Prime Catcher as our A-Spec and another Gust. When this Prime Catcher says, switch in one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active spot. If you do, switch your active with one of your bench Pokemon. This is another way to get out of sticky situations, but most of the time we're using it to gain an advantage and take a knockout. You really want to get as much value as you possibly can with that Prime Catcher when you use it, because there's only 1 copy in the whole deck. Then we have 2 Night Stretchers. You can put a Pokemon of basic energy from your discard in your hand. This is great for recovering Fezandipiti, great for recovering grass energies when you want to use Teal Mask Ogerpon. But just keep in mind there's only 2, and while we do have energy retrievals as well, this is the only way you can get Pokemon back from the discard pile. So just be careful with how you use these. The 2 Night Stretchers. And then lastly, for recovery, we have 1 Energy Retrieval, which gets 2 basic energy cards from your discard pile and puts them in your hand. You can tell it's 2 because there's 2 in the picture. So we use this to get energies back. Then Energy Search, we have 3 Earthen Vessels, and we're using this to search our deck and get energies out so we can power up our attackers, and for Teal Mask Ogerpon to use its ability. You do have to discard 1 card from your hand to use it, but you do get 2 out of it, which is pretty good, and the discard effect is nice when you need to discard an energy in order to use Professor Sada. So that we've got 3 of those. And then stadiums, we have 2 Area 0 Underdepths. If you have a Terra Pokemon in play, so the Ogerpon, you can have up to 8 bench Pokemon. This is really great because we're running so many Pokemon in the deck. So 2 Area 0s, and then 1 Jamming Tower. So we can bump our stadium. There's some cool plays you can do with the stadium bump to get rid of Pokemon you don't want on your bench anymore, but also Jamming Tower makes tool cards have no effect. So this is great against a lot of decks that run tool cards that make it difficult for you. You can use this to reduce their health or other effects the tool cards might have that are annoying for you to deal with. And then finally we got energies, and this is very simple. 3 lightning energies, 3 fighting energies, and we're using that to pay for the Raging Bolt and other ancient Pokemon attack costs, and then 5 grass energies, and that is for our Teal Mask Ogerpons. So that's the deck list, and I'm going to do a little quick shuffle up and show you how it usually works on your first turn. With this deck, you want to go first as often as you can, but you can do things going second as well because of the Squawkabilly and the cool supporters you have in the deck. So let's just pretend we are versing Dragapult, and Dragapult has Voodoo with item lock, and they're going to try and item lock us. So we can go first, they're going second, and they're going to item lock us straight away. So what we're going to be looking for is a Fan Rotom to set up, and hopefully we can get a little Raging Bolt and put it in the active spot and have an energy on it for next turn. Cool. We've got Fan Rotom, we've got Crispin. So we start with the Fan Rotom. Draw a card. It's Teal Mask Ogerpon. We can use its ability to draw a card. And then we can use Fan Call. We can grab Ditto, Noctowl, and Hoothoot. Put the Noctowl in our hand, Ditto on the bench. And I'm going to put one of these in the discard pile. So retreat into the Ditto, and then use the ability, which also puts it in the discard pile and then swaps it out with the Raging Bolt. So as you can see, we haven't even got any ball search yet, but if we had one, we would have got that Fan Rotom, and we set our bench up, we're ready to go. There's an energy on this. We can get energies next turn, and even if we're item locked, we can still use our Noctowl and search for supporter cards like Crispin and Sada. So it's a good setup. And then if you were going second and you wanted to attack on your first turn, going second, you might want to go for a Squawkabilly angle to try and find a Sada, try and find a Latias, and retreat into an attacker and start attacking. There's other cool attackers in this deck. We can use Fan Rotom pretty early. It's a pretty efficient attacker as well. You just need to find a stadium for that one though. So let's pretend we are going second. Let's see what we can do going second. Cool, so we got Latias, we've got Fan Rotom, and an Ultra Ball. So we can put Fan Rotom in the active spot, Latias on the bench. Then we draw for turn. It's a Nest Ball. This is really good. We're going to Ultra Ball away the Lightning and the Turo. And that's going to get us Squawkabilly. And then we're going to use our Nest Ball and get out a Teal Mask Ogerpon. Now what we're going to look for here is a Sada, so we can start attacking as soon as possible with a Raging Bolt. And even if we don't find a Raging Bolt, we can use Ditto and transform that. So let's do a Teal dance. He'll Hoothoot. I might bench this one. Yep, and then we'll use Squawks and Seas. So we get 6 new cards. We found a Sada, perfect. And some energies. There's a Crispin there, so we can attack. So let's use Fan Call. We can grab another Hoothoot. We grab a Noctowl and we'll grab Ditto. So Ditto is prized, I believe. Damn, is Ditto prized? That sucks. So if Ditto wasn't prized, we would have just been able to attack with Raging Bolt this turn. But unfortunately, it's gone. So we might end up just taking another Noctowl. We'll bench this Hoothoot. but we can attack with this Ogerpon. So let's say we're in a good spot to attack with Ogerpon and play the Crispin. I'm going to grab a Fighting Energy and a Grass. And we still have our attachment for turn, so just remember that. Crispin can attach to the Grass here. And then we have one in our hand as well, so we can manually attach that and then use a free retreat with the Latias ability. And now we're ready to attack. Going second, we can use the Myriad Leaf Shower and do 120. This kills most things. If we had a Stadium as well, you can use Fan Rotom's attack. And the next turn, if it gets killed, we've always got our Night Stretcher to get it back. Let's see if we can pull off the turn one going second Raging Bolt attack, which is pretty strong. We also had Prime Catcher in our hand that time, so that was interesting. You would be able to choose anything you want and kill it on your first turn. So we're going to go second again. Ideally, every match you want to go first if you win the coin flip, especially going blind. Even against the decks that want to go second, you can still want to go first. It doesn't actually matter. And we're going to go second again. Okay, this one's a bit more tricky. So we have to start with a Hoothoot. We draw an Ultra Ball. Okay. We can play the Teal Musk Ogerpon. May as well put a Jamming Tower down in case we want to attack with the Fan Rotom. I'm going to Ultra Ball this Hoothoot and the Lightning Energy for a Raging Bolt. I'm going to see if we can attack with this straight away. So we're looking for a Latias basically to retreat. But we can do 210 this turn, so we can Sada the Lightning from our discard to draw 3 cards. We can attach manually this one, and then look at that, we drew Latias, so we can actually attack straight away with Bellowing Thunder. So that all helps a lot as well. Let's try perhaps going first one more time. So this is going to be a more defensive start. We're going to be going first against a Raging Bolt deck. So if we leave a 2-prizer in the active, they'll probably just be able to kill it. So let's try not do that. Let's try and end our turn with a single prize in the active spot. So this is going to be a defensive start going first. Very good. This is pretty good. We're going to put Ditto in the active because we want to use its ability and it can only do it in the active spot. And then we draw for turn. Okay, we can bench a Raging Bolt. We're going to bench a Hoothoot. And I think if it was reversing Raging Bolt, we do not need the single prize one. So we're going to Ultra Ball that and grab a Teal Musk Ogerpon. Then we'll use the Ditto ability and put our Fan Rotom in its place. And now we can activate the Fan Rotom ability and get a Noctowl, a Hoothoot, and another Noctowl card. So now we have a single prizer in the active, and we've got 2 single prizes on the bench. They won't be able to use things like the Hyper Blower Iron Bundle to give a 2-prize knockout, and our active Pokemon is protected from being a 2-prize knockout as well. So we might end our turn by leaving an energy here, and we can pass through our opponent, and no matter what they do, they're not taking a 2-prize Pokemon, and if they kill this, it activates our counter catcher and lets us free retreat and promote a 2-prize Pokemon to start taking a prize lead. So that is my Raging Bolt deck list, and I think what I might do is go on TCG Live, copy the list and paste it in the description too, so you guys can all try it out on TCG Live, or even just try it out and build it in person, take it to some league challenges and league cups. I can see this will be a good deck list as well to keep going even through the new, what's the Journey Together, Destined Rivals, even through Black and White. This deck list is pretty similar to what people are running in Japan, and they're a few sets ahead of us, so it should be good for quite some time to come. Anyway guys, if you enjoyed that, make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and check out my other videos, and good luck if you're using this deck list in the future at your league cups and challenges. Let me know how it goes. Peace.